Guys, this is Cheney here again. Today I'm going to be talking about the imbalances of elements in your own astrological birth chart. And this can also be, if you are familiar with the elements and what they represent and are not familiar with astrology, then you could apply this as well, based on intuitive knowing rather than like a objective astrological knowing. Anyway, what I'm going to be talking about today is the four elements and the overemphasis and the underemphasis of each element in a person's chart and how they are expressed, how you see that in their life and how you kind of interpret it in the chart as well. These, of course, are exaggerations, and by no means do I want to make it out that like this is a good or a bad thing, because it's actually just both extremes, and I do my best to not quantify and identify things as good or bad. So basically what I'm getting at here with the overemphasis is that it is the self-expressive qualities of an imbalance in your personality and in your chart. The under-emphasis of a chart is the self-repressive qualities of your chart or your own personality. And we'll see this throughout life. And these are the things that you're more conscious of on a everyday level, and these are unconscious things that we don't notice about ourselves and can greatly benefit from others' input, we could say. Anyway, going right into this, I'm going to start off in fire, because this is the natural sequence of the astrological wheel and the induction into the seasons of the rotation of the earth. Anyway, so the overemphasis of fire is usually described, as exaggeration, self-importance, vanity, and ego exaltation. So fire people with an abundance of fire are very driven, very set on their own path of who they are, what they represent, and how they're going to do everything, and they have a tendency to really just burn other people out, kind of like they're with their own energy. They have a lot of energy especially towards their own identification and their own expression of themselves. So this could definitely burn people out. A overemphasis in fire will in particular is very passionate and very self-centered in a lot of ways. So moving on to the unexpressed or the self-repressive things in the chart, when there's an underemphasis of fire, there's a lack of joy, lack of self-confidence, faith, and optimism. And what these all represent is kind of the fire quality of transforming what is currently physical matter into the ethers and turning it into something new and something unforeseeable. It has a lot to do with not having motivation to do the things that you aspire to be, or your ideals in life, not having that energy to propel you forward to live up to those ideals and enact them in a way that you can vitalize your own spirit, emotional, and physical body in the way that that is ideal for you, and that'll show up in many different people's lives, various ways. A lack of exercise is the lack of fire. A lack of will to change your perspective or change your circumstance in life and your life situation is a lack of fire. So those are all some examples. Moving on here is Earth. This is the rational thought. It's being over rational about things, and the overemphasis is gonna be like very critical of others. They're gonna be very judgmental with an over indulgence of Earth. So obsessive is also another thing. Very determined in the positive light, but if they fall short of being conscious of the other person, then they're gonna maybe be obsessive about another person or a goal or they're very self-driven as well as fire. So they sometimes don't challenge themselves in new ways. Like, yes, they're driven towards a certain goal that they want to achieve, but when something else comes up, they stick to their path, which is not a good, bad, or good, bad, right, or wrong thing. They just don't have the interest or the disposition to kind of challenge themselves to new possibilities, essentially. Rigidity, also a very self-contained kind of atmosphere about overemphasis and self-expressive Earth people. Moving on, it's the self-repressed kind of things and the underemphasis of Earth is kind of like a spacey, right? Spaciousness in the mind where you can't really tangibly connect things to the physical reality, like the things we need: food, money, sex, emotions. All those things are very necessary in the human experience, and people that lack that earthly quality in themselves can be detached from their own needs, earthly needs. So they're also a little bit illogical. None of this is good, bad, right, or wrong, even though I may position it as so. But those illogical things, all these words are not good or bad, I'm saying, but the illogical parts of an underemphasis on Earth is going to be, doing things that aren't going to bring you the needs that you want. You're kind of just doing things out of the frivolous idea of doing something, kind of just like expressing your will with no reward and no consequence or rational thought of how that action is going to come back on you, kind of, so to speak. Irrational with that. A little bit ignorant people with a lack of Earth are going to be kind of ignorant to facts or very earthly things, so they'll deny that and negate those aspects that we have discovered in science or whatever. They're very they're very in tune with their own mind and their own beliefs, and they could just not consider what the actuality of life on planet Earth is like. So, moving on, air, an overemphasis on air is going to seem to be a little bit intrusive, over inquiring about things, kind of meddling in other people's business. It may appear that way to people, and with a personal bias that I have a overemphasis in air, I will say from my own experience that I just really like to learn about facts and stuff. So when I'm coming from an intrusive, when people perceive me as being intrusive, of course I'm justifying this, but I just want to know about them, and then I probably will make a judgment. Okay, I admit it, but yeah, I'm human, but I do want to get to conclusions fast. So that's where that intrusiveness comes. Despondency, very unaware of people's emotional needs and our own emotional needs when being an overemphasis in air. Over analyzing things, overthinking, it leads to all problems, all suffering, I believe. So over analyzing can really limit and postpone the actual unfoldment of life and the beauty and the expression and manifestation of a ideal life right now. Worrisome, yeah, just very, very always thinking about what's going to happen next, the future, which is not real. Very future oriented, but always wanting to make plans about what it is that they're going to do. Usually they can be debilitated by not doing things if they don't think about it first. Like they always want to think before they act on something. So moving to the self-repressed qualities of an underemphasis in the air element. Uncooperative, people that don't have that much air or none might be very self-sufficient but yet uncooperative with others. Disconnected in a social way that's also critical of others, but it's in a more of a way that is just like concerned about their own thoughts and their own concepts rolling around their head. Over attachment to things, to ideas, to concepts. Again, there's very dynamic and correlating characteristics, between each. And there's a lot of correlations between the lack of air and the overemphasis on Earth. So you can kind of see that through all the elements. But moving on, distrust, people with a lack of air don't want to stick their neck out and take that chance on belief or on their ideas, on their own ideas. Take the leap of faith it takes for you to go into a new project in a new way of expressing yourself. So yeah, air definitely needs earth and fire to contain it, so to speak. Emphasis of water. It looks a lot. Emphasis of water is going to look like a person that's timid, very meager and suppressed, kind of. Or person with overemphasis might look and appear to be someone who is humble, yet they are actually very egotistical, and they don't express their own self-importance to others. So that's a kind of a or it could be self-expressed, and it could be in a way that like they're so self-absorbed in themselves that they are dramatic about what happens in their life, what happens to them, kind of that victimhood mentality sometimes. Compulsive towards yearnings and desires. Water is a very consciousness-oriented element, and I think it's probably the most intelligent, um, as well as, you know, life-giving and whatever. But water is definitely very. It can be to a point of being so unaware of your own desires and your own like yearnings that it still is unconscious to you why you're doing it. So the reasoning and the logical like processes aren't always engaged with somebody that has overemphasis of water kind of thing. Underemphasis of water is going to look like kind of emotional, a lack of. All right, so an underemphasis of water is going to be someone who is callous and a little bit emotionally rigid. So to speak, that people with kind of a detached feel to them or detached emotional rapport with other people is kind of characteristic of that, the underemphasis of water. So building that emotional rapport for those people with a lack of water is definitely a very conscious intention that will have to be exercised throughout the entire life. I can speak from personal experience here. I have a lack of water, so insensitive to people and their own needs, as well as their own needs. You know, to other people's needs and themselves of emotional needs. So that could result in a lot of things. It could be shutting people out of their lives. It could be not having the time of day for significant others or children. It cannot be taking the time to emotionally connect. Dismissive about other people and their self-expression, kind of, or their own expression of their desires. Could be a little dismissive about that and their own emotions as well. So yeah, we have a complete kind of breakdown of what the overemphasis and self-expressive traits of fire, earth, and air are, and these are extremes, of course. All of these are extremes. So you want to be in the middle. You want to be neutral and take each characteristic, whatever you fall under, and in good stride, and to just be conscious of it and to correct it, but also continue to just be intentional with whatever you do. Really, that's what it comes down to, is intentionality. So and also the self-repressive or underemphasis, just, you know, this is essentially unconscious and this is consciousness. So it's going to be a lot more work to work on these things here, the self-expressive. And mind you, everybody has an imbalance in their chart and their makeup as a human being. So looking into what emphases you have in your chart is the beginning. And in my next video, I'll tell you a little bit how to do that. So I'll see you on the next one, and I love you very much.